Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 11, Jawaharlal Nehru. Let us discuss Nehru on socialism. Nehru's interest in socialism can be traced to his Cambridge days, when the feminism of George Bernard Shaw and the Webbs attracted him. He was during those days attending the lectures of John Maynard Keynes and Bernard Russell, which influenced his ideas. The fast changing political, social, and economic ideas taking place throughout the world sharpened his socialist influences. India's millions living in poverty made Nehru a socialist, notwithstanding the Marxist ideology of Marx and Lenin, which had its profound impact on him. Socialism with Nehru was not merely an economic doctrine, it is a vital creed. Nehru spoke at the 1936 Congress session, which I hold with all my head and heart. He was convinced that there was no other way of ending the appalling mass poverty and sufferings in India except through socialism. Nehru was of the opinion that no ideology other than socialism could fit in the democratic pattern as that of India. He was convinced that no democracy could succeed without imbibing socialist pattern. The essence of socialism, Nehru used to say, lies in the control by the state of means of production, and the idea inspiring socialism was the prevention of the exploitation of the poor by the rich. The socialist way to Nehru was that of the ending of poverty, the vast unemployment, the degradation, and the subjection. He laughed off Gandhi's claim to being a socialist and rejected the Marxian thesis of the dictatorship of proletariat. Under India's peculiar conditions, Nehru came to advocate the socialistic, if not socialism, pattern of society. Nehru's concept of socialism was not the abolition of private property, but the replacement of the present profit system by the higher ideal of cooperative services. His socialism was not the state ownership of the means of production, but was their societal and cooperative ownership. Nehru brought socialism close to democracy. Nehru's socialism has the distinctive characteristics of progressive industrialization, through which alone the Indian economic problems, poverty, backwardness, low rate of production could be solved, and through which alone the modern India could be built. He strongly believed that in industrialization the only solution for this lay in utilizing modern science and technology for accelerating the progress of industrialization, on which depended also the prospects of agricultural development. For industrialization, Nehru ruled out the capitalistic model and pleaded the socialistic model by limiting the same to nationalization of certain key industries and cooperative approach in agriculture, which allowing the private sector to participate in industry and agriculture. That was what one may say the essence of socialistic pattern of society, the model which was made to work through economic planning, mixed economy, 5-year plans. Nehru knew that socialistic pattern of society was not socialism in its pure form, but this form would, he was convinced, lead the country in the direction of socialism. Nehru's concept of socialism had a vision of future India and of modernizing India. He wrote, "For we have to build India on a scientific foundation, to develop her industries, to change that feudal character of her land system, and bring her agriculture in time with modern methods, to develop the social services which she lacks so utterly today. If India has to modernize itself, it must," Nehru said, "lessen her religiosity and turn to science. She must get rid of her exclusiveness in thought and social habit, which has become like a prison to her, stunting her spirit and preventing growth." Now, the next point is Nehru's international outlook. Nehru's significant contribution lies in the evolution and growth of an international outlook. Indeed, he was a great nationalist and as such had a vision of independent India's foreign policy, which was in tune with India's national interest. Non-alignment as foreign policy was nationalistic in its objectives. India could not have devoted itself to modernization, nor would it have successfully protected her frontiers had it aligned with any one of the two military blocs. Her economy, politics, social existence, internal circumstances would have been at risk if India would have chosen the path of joining any bloc of the post war days. So, if Nehru sought to build an independent, non aligned foreign policy for India, it made sense and brought to the fore Nehru as a nationalist. But Nehru was, despite his being a nationalist, a great internationalist. He was the architect of non alignment as a movement and as a force on the international forum. At heart, Nehru was internationalist, an advocate for the United Nations, a champion of the world. He had a role for India in the community of nations. India, therefore, Nehru argued, must be prepared to discard her narrow nationalism in favor of world cooperation and real internationalism. He used to insist that the states should maintain a reasonable balance between nationalism and internationalism. Narrow nationalism, according to him, leads to imperialism, which he discarded outrightly, to fascism, which he denounced at the first opportunity, to exploitation of one state by another, which he thought posed a threat to world peace. He would rather visualize the emergence of a world federation and a world republic, and not an empire for exploitation. Nehru says the world has become internationalized. Production is international, markets are international, and transport is international. No nation is really independent, they are all interdependent. If romantic loyalties had made Nehru a nationalist, the rational and pragmatic considerations Professor Verma says for human welfare made him a believer in peaceful coexistence and the ideal of one world. In an age of nuclear fission, hydrogen fusion, and the prospects of the neutron bomb and chemical warfares, Nehru could have been an apostle of world peace, a champion of disarmament, and a true believer of the ideals of the United Nations. There is only one alternative to world terrorism, and it is, as Nehru rightly said, world peace. Now let us have look at the summary of the unit. Nehru's contribution to India's freedom struggle and to the making of modern India can hardly be denied. He was one of the important leaders of Indian National Congress. Though he was a disciple of Mahatma Gandhi and also his successor, he had significant differences with him. Nehru was not a religious man, while Gandhi was. He never shared Gandhi's views on spiritualization of politics. He never subscribed to Gandhi's economic ideas of trusteeship. Nehru was agnostic and hence in politics a secularist. He found in science a solution to all problems. All through his life, Nehru advocated a scientific temper and preached scientific humanism. Nehru was a political realist and had always a pragmatic approach towards all the problems. In his political ideas, Nehru was a nationalist to the point of internationalism, a firm believer in democracy, had a passion for individual freedom and for equality. He advocated parliamentary democracy and wanted to build a democratic polity. In his economic ideas, Nehru was a socialist of the Fabian brand. He chose a midway between capitalism and Marxism. His outstanding contribution in the international field has been his advocacy of a peaceful and secure world. Here we want to wind up this lecture and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.